Well, time for another coffee with Kilroy, or what I sometimes call beverage in a book. Mine, well, I'm almost finished with my coffee. And the book is Tales of War. I keep coming back to this from time to time. It is a anthology of great stories from military histories for every day of the year. So there's 365 entries. Actually, there's more than that. Sometimes there's multiple entries on a day. But today, we're going to be talking about, can you guess? The sinking of the Graf Spee. I've got a couple of games here I'll talk briefly about, but that is only after we get our reading from Tales of War. So today is December 13th. So let's take a look at the entry for December 13th. Let's get a little bit closer in there so you can follow along at home. Give me another sip of coffee. Before it is all gone. And so 13 December, the sinking of the Graf Spee. 1939, one of the most dramatic encounters in modern naval history occurred this morning off the coast of South America, as three cruisers of the Royal Navy, two British, one New Zealand, faced the pride of the German fleet. An engagement that lasted just 1 hour and 13 minutes, the cruisers heavily outgunned, but using their great maneuverability to best advantage, managed to inflict enough damage on their opponent, the pocket battleship Admiral Graf Spee, to force her to seek safety in the neutral waters of Uruguay's River Plate. And go a little bit closer if you guys want to follow along there. The Graf Spee, powerfully armed with 11-inch guns, had sailed from Wilhelmshaven on the eve of the Second World War. Her mission was to be a surface raider attacking and disrupting vital Allied shipping heading from South America ports for Europe. In her 3 months at sea, she had sunk 9 British merchantmen. Moreover, her presence in the South Atlantic had drawn some 20 French and British warships from their theaters where they were badly needed. The Graf Spee's method was to range widely across the South Atlantic and Indian Oceans, maintaining radio silence, appearing only briefly to sink a ship, then disappearing once again into the vast expanse. What might have been her 10th victim, sighted just after dawn today, some 230 miles east of Montevideo, turned out to be a squadron of cruisers, Exeter, carrying six 8-inch guns, and Achilles and Ajax, each with 6-inch guns. Instead of standing off and relying on its heavy batteries, which outranged those of the cruisers by 10,000 yards, the Graf Spee's captain, Hans Langsdorff, ordered his ship to close for battle. In response, the squadron's commodore, Henry Harwood, split the ships into 2 groups, Exeter as one and Ajax and Achilles as the other, each group maneuvering separately to prevent their opponent from concentrating her fire on any one ship. When the brief action was over, Exeter, with 7 hits from the 11-inch guns, was completely out of action, on fire, and steering away from the British base in the Falkland Islands. Ajax and Achilles suffered heavy damage as well, but more important, the cruisers had landed 50 shells on their opponent, inflicting significant damage to both the hull and superstructure. Turning away, the Graf Spee headed west for the River Plate and Montevideo Harbor. Ajax and Achilles in dogged pursuit. She reached Montevideo shortly after midnight, where the news of her unexpected arrival and the presence of British warships lying in wait in the international waters was radioed around the world. From London, the Admiralty sent orders for other warships in South Atlantic to join the 2 cruisers. Learning the next day that the Uruguayan government would allow the Graf Spee to remain in port for no more than 72 hours for repairs and medical assistance, Captain Langsdorff cabled Naval High Command in Berlin for instructions. Should he allow his ship to be interned, make run for the oceans past the waiting cruisers, steer upriver for possible sanctuary in Buenos Aires, or scuttle the Graf Spee? What do you think is going to happen? This is kind of a choose your own adventure. On 17 December, Langsdorff and a skeleton crew sailed the Graf Spee out of the harbor, and in a series of spectacular explosions witnessed by thousands gathered along the shoreline, destroyed her in the River Plate's shallow waters. 2 days later, in Buenos Aires, her captain committed suicide. The Graf Spee's presence in the South Atlantic was the first significant threat to the Allied war effort at sea. Winston Churchill noted that in the gathering storm, the victory gave intense joy to the British nation. The naval historian Dudley Pope, whose 1956 book, The Battle of the River Plate, is still the best account, considered the effects of that victory. The facts that the Graf Spee was at sea ultimately affected ships sailing the oceans of the world and soldiers and airmen fighting on many battlefields. And although she was destroyed in the last days of 1939, the Allies were still reaping the benefit of Commodore Harwood's victory in 1943 and 1944. So there you have it, the sinking of the Graf Spee, which was scuttled and to avoid capture. So I have a couple of games here. There's more, and actually there's more games on this. There's actually I have other games that deal with naval combat that you can recreate that battle, or it's a scenario for that battle. One of them is like a mini game or a micro game. Battle Wagon has, I think, a scenario for this. But these two I thought I'd pull out today. This one here I've covered before, and I'll put a link to it, the River Plate and Denmark Strait. So this has two battles in it, and one of them is the good old Graf Spee right here. The Battle of the River Plate simulates the naval encounter between the German Admiral Graf Spee and the British Royal Navy cruisers HMS Exeter, Ajax and Achilles on 13th December 1939. The historical outcome led to the Graf Spee to sink in the shelter of Montevideo, Uruguay, where she was subsequently scuttled. So there we have, there's the Graf Spee itself. This is a relatively easy system. The system is from Decision Games. It's Dreadnoughts and Battle Wagons is the name of this system. And it's, I think, if I did, I'll put a link to after action or playthrough that I've done of this as well. There's two in this series, as far as I can tell. I've got both of them, have played both of them. Again, simple system, pretty direct, not a lot of complications to it. This right here is more of a mini game. It's the Hunt for the Graf Spee. This was published by LPS, which is the publishing arm of Against the Odds magazine, and I got this as they have a series of games called Black Swans, which are kind of one-off games that are not offered in their magazines, but you can buy them when you buy their magazines. I believe this might have been one of those Black Swans. Let's take a look inside here. It's got an interesting map. But these are relatively simple games and not a lot of rules. But here you have a map here. So this, again, is more of the, kind of trailing it. So you're not, this is just the actual battle on December 13th. This one goes beyond that and kind of goes what, Graf Spee's actions around the Atlantic. And you're trying to, I think, take it out, so to speak. Anyway, there is the game Hunt for the Graf Spee. Here is River Plate and Denmark Strait. I thought they would be interesting to take a look at those. If you've got a favorite game that recreates this battle, feel free to drop them in the comments. Love to hear from you on that, and love to hear from you on anything. But especially this day in history, this battle, these games, or whatever you feel like discussing. Just keep it civil and enjoy your coffee or whatever you're drinking these days. Take care. Thanks for watching.